I get the vibe that you're distant. There's something about you that's different. I see it in your eyes. Something isn't right. Tell me again what I'm missing. 'Cause you're fading out. We've been here before. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll make it right. Don't go through that door. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll make it right. It is a lie when you tell me that nothing is wrong, just leave it be. But I see it in your eyes. Something isn't right. Tell me again what I'm missing. 'Cause you're fading out. We've been here before. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll make it right. Don't go through that door. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll
Sorry, everybody. We had a crash there. Dial back in. Hang on. There you go. Sorry about that, man.
Hey, was it something I said?
It was something you said, and don't ever say that again. You.
Oh, I didn't mean to leave the show mid show.
Nah, we're okay. We're good now. See if you can. What happened is it froze when you pulled up your screen. So let's try that again and see if we lose it. Hi, Angie. Hope we're there.
Hey, Angie.
Can you pull up your shared screen, see if it'll work without blowing up?
Chrome. Yep, let me see here. Well, I might have to, don't look like I can pull it up.
Okay, well, we're just going to, here we go then. Well, first, let's start this way. My name's Andy Elliott, realtor here in Williamson County, Tennessee. This is Rodney Wilds. He's a lender here in Williamson County, Tennessee. We're here just to share information with you, and as you can see, this is live. We blew up starting within 4 seconds, so perfect. So if you like that exciting stuff, you're in the right place. So what we're going to do is share what's going on in Williamson County and across the nation the best that we can, and just share information with you. If you choose to chime in on the chat, we'll be able to see it immediately. If you do so afterwards, we'll also get notified. We'd love to be able to talk to you. Our contact information is in the description box below. Rodney, how are you? Do you have anything fun happen golfing this weekend?
I played a little golf this weekend, but it was, I don't know what it is with my allergies or something. It's drives me crazy with when it's a little cold and chilly. So it just, my eyes are crazy.
Oh no. So you can't see the ball as well. Is that?
Well, I blame my bad scores on allergies. That's what I do.
Well, I like it. Mucinex. Yeah. I got a big thing of Mucinex here. We're good. Good. Well, anybody that's seen our stuff before, and if you watch it after the fact, which is perfectly fine, the first thing we start off with is Rodney's rates. We've got a technical thing here, so we're going to do the music, and Rodney's just going to walk us through. Oh, yeah. All right, Rodney, what's going on with Rodney's rates?
Well, today we are seeing another runoff on the mortgage rates a little bit today. It is, for whatever reason, they're keep bouncing up. Yeah, they went up. They're about 58 basis points down right now, which lenders are going to be in a position to reprice pretty soon if they haven't already. And it hasn't lost too much since started out pretty bad. 9 o'clock, it was already about 25 basis points worse, but it's broke through our floor of support. So we'll see where it ends up. But yesterday we had a really nice gain, got a few loans locked in, and then today it's kind of reversed for us.
It has. It's been up and down quite a bit this last week.
It's been since about February 5th. It looks like it's been a pretty rocky road, a bumpy road just down. About a full point since February 6th. So
right.
February 5th.
It was just, I was seeing, because I get notifications automatically when things do stuff. And I was like, it got my attention, so, but you know what, but in the end, it's just like a sine wave. It just rock and rolls and goes through. So we're just steady Eddie, right? That's what you're getting at, right?
Yeah. It's hanging in. It hasn't nowhere got near where it was, hitting that 7% mark. So we're still a little ways from that. So
yeah, we'll be all right. So the next thing we want to touch base on is, and no excuses, none whatsoever, we're going to talk about the news. Yes. No excuses. So the first thing that we're going to talk about, and this is going to be Rodney's deal here. Let me get this ready to go. About a month ago or so, I caught an article that the LLPAs, the loan level price adjustments, had changed, and it was coming up. And that's a Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac thing, I think, right?
Yes.
This is about the extent of my knowledge. All I knew is that there was going to be big changes and it was going to have an effect on mostly conforming loans. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So that exhausts my knowledge on LLPA. Rodney, take it away, buddy.
All right. What LLPAs are is just loan level price adjustments. Means Fannie Mae has broken these categories down into credit scores and sell price, loan amounts. They've even added debt to income in there now. And they've created, and what it means is that since the box is shifting that's what lenders have to use to price their loans. So when anything delivered May 1 or after has to have the new loan level pricing adjustments attached to them. And I was, just for an example, I was talking to another loan officer, and we were comparing like an 80% loan to value loan that's going to Fannie. And if it was a second home or investor at 80% and like a 720 score, it was right at 5 points just to get the loan, and there's not that much spread, right? There's not 5
Right.
points spread between what Fannie sells to or Fannie will buy one for. They don't, the rate's not high. There's not a rate high enough to charge to make those points back up. That's why you can't hardly get right now, you have to start creeping down into 60 LTV, and now they got a credit score of 780 and above, where that used to be 740. So just kind of a reminder, if you got something going on with a lender right now, you may want to give them a call and make sure anything you've got locked in, because I don't know how they're handling it. Like if it exceeds past May 1 or May 1, if the loan is supposed to be locked and delivered before May 1, the old pricing adjustments were fine, but if it goes past that, the new ones could take into effect for your loan. So,
I mean, and what happens if you have a closing that gets delayed for a few days
that's the thing about it. See that, and this, I felt like it was a good time to kind of bring this up and remind everybody again, because it's that we're going to start seeing these put into pricing, pretty soon, because your May 1 deliveries, you're probably talking that might be a March person that goes out and starts looking for a house, right? So
right?
that's the lenders are giving us those pricing adjustments. They're going to be hitting the market very soon with these new adjustments.
Would it help to see that chart, or you passed that already?
Yeah. Let's throw that chart up there, and you can look at and basically, the higher is worse and
Right.
lower is better. So anywhere, red means the price went up for you. And if it's green, the price went down for you.
And so as I look at this, tell me if I'm wrong, that if you're preparing to get a loan, the ones in the red may be available to you, but the smart move would be to go one of the green blocks. Is that right?
Well, it just depends. Like, okay, so it means it just got worse for that bucket.
Okay.
I wouldn't recommend somebody that was putting 20% down to go, to try to go into a green bucket to pay 95, because that one's a better charge now, if that makes sense. Basically what I think they're doing is, you see the 95 and the 97, you go all the way down and you start going down to the bottom.
Yeah. Yep.
It makes a little L there. I think that's part of when we discussed months ago about what can the government do to help first-time home buyers.
Okay.
I think this might be a result of that. I think they're trying to expand home ownership for, because if you look at this, if somebody's only paying a point for a 660 credit score at 95 LTV,
Right.
um, and you would, that's so they're allowing that, like, and you take it all the way down to 80 at 660, you're paying 0.875 of a point. So it's almost no difference between that and 80% and 95%. So
Interesting. And so let me make sure I do this right. So what you're getting at clearly is that they're making more favorable loans to people that are a little bit struggling, maybe a little more than compared to the old way. Is that a fair way to put that? I don't know.
I think they're trying to. I almost think they're almost trying to expand the conventional box a little bit.
Got it.
Meaning, I think they've used to price a conventional, like a 660 buyer, 95% conventional loan. It's only a point hit now, where used to it may have, it was higher than that. So let's say if it was a point and a quarter, now you're starting to look at where, you compare that with an FHA rate. Now FHA is going to start being a better product. So they're just trying to compete and open up their box a little bit for home ownership. But they do kind of, to me, they do kind of stick it to the guys with good credit, guys and gals with good credit, in the middle with good loan to values. But
yeah. Well, I've got an opinion on that. I'm going to keep it to myself.
But you take it with the good. You take the good with the good. It's like, hey, they've expanded this for some buyers that may have had to go into an FHA loan, or FHA was a better fit or whatever. But it's, that's the positive part about it.
Yeah, if it makes home ownership more available for people, and we're staying away from the thing we did back in 08 through 2010, that stuff. Oh, yeah. If we stay away from that, which clearly you guys are, then you just end up with more people owning homes, and they get equity and everybody benefits. So
yeah,
that's all good.
Yeah. With the RESPA, TILA, Reg Z, all that stuff that's going on, the Dodd-Frank Act, it's, the mortgage compliance piece is we're in good shape.
We are in good shape. Yeah. And so the takeaway for all of this that you're saying is, if you're a home buyer and you're in the midst of it, check with your lender and make sure the timing with these new pricings, right?
Yeah, especially if you're going from, if you think your lock expiration is going to carry you into May.
Okay. All right.
I'd be
so
very concerned about that.
Got it. Okay. So for any home buyers in there, just talk to your lender, make sure that you're up to speed. So the next topic we had, and Rodney and I, was, this is, if I laugh a little bit, it's not because I'm making fun, or I just don't know how to handle some emotions sometimes. But this is about how climate change may affect home prices in the what appears to be near future, and what they're I don't know what that. There's nothing funny. It's okay. It's okay. So there was a new study that came out here. Let me change my perspective. Here we go. There was a new study came out. It was last Thursday, and it was funded by the who was this? It was the federal. It was the Environmental Defense League was who put this thing together, and of course they came to the conclusion that what they're saying, this is the broad scope of this thing, is that do you know what the percentage of people that live on the coast, within a few miles of the coast, is, Rodney? And for this country, is it like a crazy number, like 80%, or it's big?
The people who live on our coast?
Well, within a few miles of the coastlines in the United States, the percentage of people that do that, if somebody could Google that, that would be really good. It's a very high percentage, a very high percentage.
Yeah, I've never heard that.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I'm pretty sure I'm not making it up. And so well, I'm actually pretty sure. I just don't remember what the number is. I could Google that and get it exactly. But here's what the study is saying. In a few years or a decade or so, they're talking about the oceans rising. And there's the tidal line that if you were to score a line across the country, on the beaches, on the shores, I'm going to turn into Winston Churchill in about a second. On the land and on the sea.
Yeah.
Never say never. That's it. Sorry. But there's this line where the sea rise is happening. And as you know, in a lot of places across 40%, thank you, Philip, 40% of the population lives within a few miles of the coastline. That's a lot of the population. You would never think that. You know, that's 40% within a few miles.
I think it's in counties that that are coastal. So that's, you know. But that is
100 Phillips, all right, God bless you, man. 127 million people. I don't know what that means for households, but that's a lot of houses. I don't care how you slice it. And what these guys are saying, keep an eye on Philip because I'm looking the other way and he's giving us good information. This is good. What they're saying is the sea rises, people are going to, and we have seen this where those houses, where was that? That literally got washed right out into the ocean. It was just a few months ago. Was that in California? Where the houses, or Florida, it just washed right out. It was on the East Coast someplace. I remember that because it was one storm came in and just did terrible damage. Well, that's their whole point. That as the seas begin to rise due to climate change, that we're going to start to lose properties, just like that one that fell into the ocean. And there's more. There's a lot more of them. No, not California. Thanks, Angie. But what they're saying is we're losing value to the tune of, or that those properties, I'm going to guess that 40%, thank you, Philip, of 121 to $237 billion overvalued because of the risk they run with climate change. Now, here's where the article, and I know you read it too, but they're talking about how the financial difficulties is going to be for the government, right? Because as these houses get washed away, they're really painting a bleak picture that, I mean, you know, get your waders on.
Money for schools, they're going to lose money for taxes, all that.
Yeah, property taxes are going to be in the ocean is kind of what they seem to be saying, you know? And so, and I guess, does anybody have an opinion on that? Angie, Philip, Wendy?
Yeah, I do.
Philip,
we'll have to, if Nemo gets a redecorated house, they should be paying their fair share of taxes.
It's just, that's right. You know, you're moving the taxes from above the sea level to below it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't see a problem with it. I mean, but, you know, they really, I think this article really took exception to the FEMA flood maps. It's like they are blaming FEMA for being so far behind, but I don't think FEMA projects. FEMA goes by like, okay, hey, it's flooded here. It's prone to flood, so we're going to mark it in a flood zone. Like, FEMA doesn't project that my house is going to flood in 100 years. Well, they might, but that's the 100-year floodplain. But what I'm saying is that I don't think they project to move the FEMA lines based on climate.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I remember I'd sold a house to a guy. It was up in Watertown or that end of the state where there's a lot of hills and stuff like that up in that area. And it was years ago, and there had been a flood, and I think it might even have been not too long after the 2010 thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it took FEMA quite a little while to update those maps, right?
Right.
But this guy bought this house, and it was near a creek, and the base flood elevation, according to FEMA, because of the floods, had changed.
Mm-hmm.
And so he got caught into that, and he had to get. Until that day, I'd never heard of what they were called, floodgates. I'm using that, I think, but it's like you put this in your house, and it's below the foundation where where your floors would be, but it's into the crawl space. But if floodwaters come, these things open up and it allows the water to flood through your house as opposed to just getting caught up in there. And I think it was called floodgates.
Wow.
Anyway, so he was able to get a waiver, no pun intended, because of the floodgates. Anyway, but that's just an example of FEMA. It's like doing comps. You know, you can't price a house based on what you think the future is going to be. You can only price a house based on what the one down the street sold for last week.
Right.
It's
yeah. I would love to go to appreciate some property out in, Santa Clara or something. The thing is going to go in the ocean or wherever, someplace sunny, and let me buy a beach property for 50% or whatever. I'm like, okay. I'm like,
and that's that's what I don't doubt their sincerity on what they're trying to achieve here. But when they're talking about overvalued properties, what does that even mean? Based on what? Because we think by 2050, the tide's going to be higher. And the punchline, and I can reveal a punchline now, the punchline of the whole article was, here it is. If, here it comes. Properties, okay. The authors behind Thursday's study make it clear that now these are big numbers. They're talking about $237 billion overvalued for your house if you're living near a coast. They're saying that's too much. You shouldn't have that much. But the authors behind the Thursday study make clear that the timing and the extent to which properties lose value, drum roll please, will depend on the decisions that policymakers, regulators, mortgage lenders, insurers, and individual homeowners make in the years ahead. Well, there's certainly no fluff built into that.
He's nailed it. He's nailed down the specific 3% gain in property value for year over year. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was a pretty speculative article, but I think it was kind of designed around they're trying to create some hysteria around the climate change issue, which, I mean, I would say, let's say that he's right.
Tread lightly.
I mean, let's say he's right. I mean, it's still going to be a fair market price. I mean, people are still going to sell their houses. I mean, somebody's still going to pay a premium for something on the beach. I mean,
100%. I had this one client, and he bought down in West Palm Beach. Well, I mean, that's where the stars live, and him and his wife, they're just wonderful people, but they have the ability to build in West Palm Beach. And they bought a house for, I think he told me it was $18 million, West Palm Beach.
Ooh.
Could have bought the next one that he said, Andy, literally 22 feet closer to the water for $30 million. And he said, I told my wife, get your walking shoes on. We're going to do that extra 22 feet.
Man, that's Ooh, that's almost $1 million a foot.
I'm telling you. And he wasn't laughing. I mean, it wasn't, somebody bought it is what he's getting at. Somebody bought that.
Yeah. It's all relative. Yeah. It's all relative.
And it got in front of him, which isn't that the game?
Yeah.
Angie's saying in areas of my city, homeowner insurance have been canceled due to wildfires. Didn't even think about that side of it. Here, I'm talking water.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, I
So,
mean, mudslides and things like that, I mean, are, that those are for real items versus, projected 2050, climate change,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Think about that too. It's what Angie. I'm really glad you brought that Tampa beachfront properties and condos couldn't give them away. I remember that there was just tons of vacancies down there. I have a friend that lives in Florida, and he said because Florida is particularly hard hit with it for insurance companies. They're just getting a terrible beating. That they're down to very few insurance companies that you can get a policy with, and when you do, it's costing a fortune because the odds, I guess, are getting pretty high. So, I mean, what do you do when that? You just dang the torpedoes, full speed ahead. I'm going to live near the water, and if it blows away, that's the way it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what those salt life stickers are on the back of all those cars. It's like, they're down there holding on to the pier. They're not.
And they're
They're
flip
not up
flops.
here in Williamson County.
Well, just so happens the guy I was telling you about with the 22 feet, all that kind of stuff, they've got a beautiful big old mansion here too. So when it gets bad down there, they just move it up here, They're lovely. I love those guys. I just love them to death. Oh man, Grass Valley. Yeah, there's just a ton. It boils down to, I mean, insurance is such a big part of all of this. So, it's not climate change. I guess it is indirectly going to affect home prices. You imagine if you buy a house and you ask them what the insurance is, because I had somebody call from New York the other day. Their property taxes for a little place on Long Island, I know a little bit, just enough to be dangerous. Their property taxes were $18,000 for just a little, not a big place,
Yeah,
So I'll tell you.
I always look at Texas property taxes too. They're way out. They're more. Chicago is high.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago, pretty high, but yeah, it's. Where'd you say your guy was from?
New York, Long Island.
Yeah.
And it's like people keep saying taxes in California, property taxes are high. I don't believe they are. I mean, Angie can correct me on that, but I think the property taxes in California, other than the flat out the expense of the properties, the replacement cost is going to be more because, I remember a guy that bought a house out here. He had a place. It was 2 bedrooms, I believe 2 bedrooms, 2 bath, kind of near the ocean. It was in California, and it was just a couple of blocks away or something. It was 1.8 million for that, and it was 1,700 square feet.
Yeah.
And he was able to sell that and do really, really well out here. God, it's crazy. Yeah, they don't want us to water outside because of the drought, but if you don't maintain the foliage, I gotta pull this up. I have to. That's not funny. I'm not laughing because it's funny. It's ironic as heck. Golly.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Prop 13. I've heard about that on the news.
Plus, now, does the state income tax have anything to do with the property tax? Does the state income tax keep your property taxes low? I mean, they've always clamored at here,
Right. You're asking Angie that question, right?
Yes.
Yes. Out west, they're going to run out of water. Yeah, Colorado's going to shut that stuff off. It's my understanding. Well, I mean, we've kind of beat this thing to death, but my whole point was I found that the article was interesting, and Rodney, I think you hit it right on the head. I think they're baiting this a little bit. I could be wrong, but they're trying to get people riled up about if you don't pay attention to this is what's going to happen to the value of your house, knowing the lion's share of the population lives close to the somewhere close to
Yeah.
the coastline. So but I still stand by the last point. Everything depends on like 7 variables that nobody knows about.
Right.
So here's the next one we're going to cover. We're going to cover this real quick. May or may not make it to the headline because this, let's do Zillow real quick before we touch that Six Flags one, Rodney. This is going to be kind of a short one. And if you see reflections on my glasses where normally you don't, I'm sorry. I'm getting new glasses. These are my old ones, and I never realized that those are excuses. Never mind. Just ignore the.
that excuses was meant for my golf game. So when Angie comes through town, we're playing 18 holes and selling this on the golf course.
Okay, you caught that again. You guys get along well. I'm always messed up on that. Anyway.
Hey, did you see the Prop 13? Did you see a response down there on the taxes?
Let's see what
That's
that
pretty
is.
solid right there.
Prop 13 makes it so you pay taxes on what you bought the house for. That's right. And my nephew told me about that. That no matter what, it doesn't depend on the appraisal. I got to mute this, sorry. And they're concerned that that's going to hurt the tax flow, I would think. I think is what he was saying. Right? I mean, because if you're not following the appraisal, then tax dollars, they're static. California doesn't allow write-offs for property.
Oh, that's I bet they, the people who are moving, because they're only, you're only on, most people are only in the house, 5 or 6 years.
Right.
So it's only frozen for a minute.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. So here's the Angie, you and Phil and Whit and Wendy, you guys are like a treasure trove of information. I love this. We're gonna pop over to this Zillow thing really quick, and then we'll finish up with 6 red flags, which are going to be easy, but they'll be fun. The Zillow Redfin article really boiled down to this: that both of those companies lost massively by the end of last year. Let me look at this. Okay, good. And it says that Zillow lost $101 million the fourth quarter of last year, and that Redfin lost $321 million. I mean, those are huge numbers. But the 1 year before that, Zillow had lost $528 million, and that was when they, pardon me, shut down the iBuyers thing. And what the whole thing about this particular article that struck me, was there anything that caught your eye first, Rodney, before I go on?
It's two things. It's standard. It's the way it always does. People expand outside of what they do well to try to capture a market that they, almost, I don't know, don't want to say you get too cocky to chase something like that. And, all that was is, some property flipping. It was all they were doing, and that's not the best for consumers. And then they got crushed by it. So that's what I took from it. But I liked at the bottom, since since that didn't work for Zillow, one of them was just saying, well, we're going to just try to spread out across the country instead of being focused in the West. And the other one says, we're going to create an app just to keep control of the buyer the whole process. That way, nobody else can get a piece of the pie on that one. So yeah, I'm like, Zillow's running themselves out of who feeds them business. It's like, why are they trying to compete with you? Why are they trying to compete with me? We're the ones that actually make them successful.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's our listings that they use to draw clients that then those people that premier agents pay for. That's insane. That's nuts.
How fast does the Realtor Association need to just say, hey, we're not going to give you access if you're going to sell it against us? I mean, that's, you know.
Yeah, and this a few years ago, there were a number of brokers, even locally, that disallowed Zillow specifically from tapping into into their listings. They were banning them, you know. But now Zillow's a broker, and so they can IDX the stuff. And
Well, I canceled a service with them. They used to have a service that helped me retrieve rates or import rates from all the investors I use. I canceled that. I was like, why am I going to pay somebody that's going to compete against me? You know?
yeah.
So,
That's exactly right. And so your point is really well taken. And here's why I figured this would be kind of a quick one. I mean, there's a bunch of millions and millions of dollars and all of the things they lost. But again, Rodney, you have a real cool way of getting right to the point, and that is what both of these companies and lots of other companies that we don't even know the names of, you know, like Mr. Cooper and just tons of online stuff that are trying to do business a lot like that Zoom, or is it Vroom, the car sales?
yeah.
They're trying to do it everything on the app, and they think that that's going to be easier for people, which in some cases maybe so. I can tell you that I went through the car purchase scenario this last month. I had those apps available to me, but there's no way that I'm going to drop big bucks on a car I've never seen without having nobody accountable other than a person that I would call through the helpline on the app.
Yeah. Right.
No thanks.
Yeah.
Not going to do it. Maybe the younger kids are accustomed to that and used to that, but for this guy, no thanks. And that's what Zillow and Redfin, maybe not so much, but in particular Zillow, but Redfin now tried to do it with the iBuyer thing.
Mm-hmm.
But here's my whole point. I mean, again, these are two different animals, but Zillow in particular, and I'm not knocking them. They're just trying to survive like any company does. But they're counting on the idea, just like Redfin is, for everything to be automated and smooth and point to point on an app. And they're disregarding what it is that people go through to buy a house. In other words, who's going to call? Are they, when somebody's scared to death to put in an offer, are they going to call the helpline on Zillow? I don't think so.
Right.
You know? When they cut out the personality, and this isn't an ad for realtors or, excuse me, I don't know what's going on, for realtors or lenders. They've been trying to do this for decades, trying to beat us at our own game, and people need, I'm going to turn to Barbara Streisand about two shakes. People need people.
Relax for that. Yeah. No price on this show.
People, oh, sorry. But they need, oh man, I almost busted into it. If I could think of the lyrics, I'd be singing that son of a gun.
No, please don't. All right, let's go for Student Hero.
That was funny. God, Rodney. But people, when they're uncertain, when they're talking to lenders, I want to know what the numbers mean to me, not just what they are. You know, you remember when I was buying this house, I was calling you, bugging you all the time. What does this mean? You know, I don't have to think about this. Rodney, what does this mean? It's not what the numbers are. I don't care. And when people are using a realtor to get past the fear of pulling the trigger, you need somebody that knows you, you know, not somebody on the other side of an app, you know?
Yeah, I mean, they're that's not that. I love high tech, right?
I do
want
too.
high-tech everything. I mean, and I love that. I love having any borrower having the option to do something and take a picture on their phone and send it to us and it look good, all that. But you know, just yesterday I had somebody wanting to come in the office and sit down and write it out on a piece of paper and talk about house payments. So that's the thing, is that you know, good luck to them, but that's not, you've got to be flexible. You got to be high tech and available to high touch as well.
And coming out the other side, what I mean by that is long term. I've still got people that call me years after the sale if you're using an app, you're not going to do that. And I'm not knocking apps, just like Rodney's saying, if it makes my life easier, yay. Buying a house or getting a loan just might not be one of them. A lot of people use them, I suppose. But here's my bottom line. Here's my point. A lot of people use them, but still these guys lost one of them, $351 billion in a quarter. So they're not using them much.
They need more than an app.
Yeah, and it said after all the stuff that was done, Redfin now, and that's again, I want to be careful. It's not a shot. I respect those companies like any other, but it said there's 19 properties that they have to, in their words, offload.
Yeah,
iBuyer properties.
Right. Yeah, they probably had 10,000 at one time or 1,000.
Oh man, I don't know what the number was. Is big.
Yeah.
Oh God, that was funny. Oh man. But what you said. Now leave it after this. There's no telling him that long term that's not going to work, because his response, I think it was Gelman or Zellman or whoever it is, he said, what are we going to do with Zillow? We're going to create the super app, not just an app, but this is the super app, We'll get him.
Yeah, I mean that's the funny that's the good part about it. Let them keep going down that road, because they don't understand. They don't understand they don't understand the process. If they think an app can help, like I need all the technology I can to make my mortgage process easy. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a lot of stuff, but you still got to have somebody that they can call and talk to and all that. So,
yeah, you just have to, because I'm telling you, because that's when I always tell people, leave a notepad at the side of your bed, because the tough questions won't come until you lay down.
Mm-hmm.
And for years, people have laughed and they go, you were right. Because as soon as you lay down, it's just whistling in there,
Mm-hmm.
And I said, don't call me at 2 a.m. Just write it down. Call me in the morning. But they laughed. They go, it did happen. So we'll do these last 5. If you don't, we got time for this last little bit, Rodney? You good for that?
Oh, I got plenty of time.
Okay. Because we did good on this, and I appreciate Angie and Phil and Wendy hanging out with us. This is fun today. Thanks for all your help. All of it. You guys are an absolute blessing. Here are the 6 flags to watch out for that could save you thousands. That's what the article was. And the first one is make sure you can negotiate your right to cancel. What they're talking about is the number one complaint when people work with usually it's a buyer's agent, is if you're not careful, and I've done a ton of videos, not a ton, but I've done several videos on this. If you sign it as is, you're locked into the buyer's agent until a purchase is made. There's no termination in there. There's just not. You have to approach them with that.
Is there a time limit on it?
Well, depends. If it says until a purchase is made, the answer is going to be no on that.
Okay.
Because you got to remember that a buyer's agency agreement is just a contract like any other. And it's got a lot of boilerplate and stuff in there. But you can add whatever you want to change it however you want so that you're comfortable. And I always tell people this, because when I start working with somebody, if I'm going to be driving all over creation with somebody, they're fully pre-approved. That's got to be a thing before I drive them any place, or follow them. You know what I mean? Caravan. They have to be a pre-approved for a loan period. That's end of report. I'm not driving anywhere without that. But one of the things they'll push back on is, what if we decide we can't work together? And I says, we'll put that in. We'll write that in the contract. If both parties decide at any given time not to work with one another, a one-sided notification is all that's necessary. Now, there's a caveat on that. You have to do it in such a way so that if they put a contract on something, then they can't fire you. That's called, that's an clawback. So you get to hold on to that. But I tell people you can write anything you want in that contract. So, and negotiate a cancel is a good thing. And when you do, you're going to find out exactly what that realtor is made of.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yep.
I didn't
Yeah,
know.
buddy.
I didn't know that some. I should have known, but I didn't know that.
Well, that's where that big complaint comes from that, I couldn't get rid of. How do you read it all the time? How do you fire the guy? And it should be easy. And if you're with a reputable company, here's the bottom line. If you're with a reputable company, let me just say this up front out loud. If you're working with a company that wants to stay in business and respects you as a client, as a customer, and you're just not working with one of their agents, call the broker, tell them that, and the broker's going to say, have a nice day. Trust me, there's nobody less willing to work with you than somebody that you rope into a contract they can't break. It's just not going to work. So.
And that's my impression as well, as like the real estate agents that I know or familiar with would,
Yeah.
The brokers they'd do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they'd have a chat with the people, with the agent and find out what exactly went wrong. Could have been this, that they're maybe out of their service area, because somebody can start looking in Franklin and end up in a Cooksville. I can't do anything about Cooksville, or Cookville, whatever. Yeah. But I'm not. I can't
even say Cookville. I don't want you taking me to Cookville.
Thanks, Rodney. I love the trust. We're brothers, man. So the second one, and we'll make this shorter, make sure you're not on the hook to pay the broker even if the deal falls through. Here's an interesting fact. Did you know that the commission is earned when the contract is signed? Bam. What?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
The commission is earned when a contract is signed. It has nothing to do with closing. Nothing. However, we typically do wait, until close takes place.
That'd be good, yeah.
Yeah, because there's no money to take, Yeah. But what they're talking about is, can you get into a for sale by owner situation where you go under contract and they're living and dying by that particular rule? The commission is earned when the contract is written. If you're dealing with a for sale by owner and somebody that rolls that way, make sure that you have an out on that. That's a really good piece of advice, because what I'm telling you is facts. That's when the money is earned, like it or not. The next one struck me kind of funny. It said, negotiating your broker's fee can be key in saving your money. No. For buyer's agents, when you're buying a house through the MLS, there's a thing called cooperation. And the listing agent has already signed a contract with the seller for X amount of percentage that they'll offer to the buyer's agent when they come into this deal. That's what they'll do. Now, what this seems to be saying, and all this is doing is telling you that this is a guy that's not actually a realtor, he's an attorney. I caught that in the beginning of this thing. He thinks that if you can talk to a buyer agent and get them to whittle down in their price, which it happens, because if you can't make the deal happen and you need to come up with a partial closing cost or something, a lot of times I've chipped in a lot of times over the years. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's money in your pocket. What that means is, if you're not collecting it, you can't give it to the buyer. And there's some programs that make it look like that, but you can't. But the seller, if you don't take that commission, the seller's going to keep it. That's what they're going to do.
He mentioned rebate, which is against every law under the sun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm with you on that. You can't give it. You can't. I can't, as a buyer, I can't go to my realtor and say, "Hey, you're getting 3%. You're going to give me 1% after closing." That as a rebate.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, there's companies that do something that looks a lot like that, but it's going to take one. Yeah, go ahead.
It may not be against the law if there's no mortgage involved.
Yeah, but I actually don't know about that.
Because if there's no money, because it's against a RESPA,
Yes. Yeah.
So if there's no loan, that may be the only position he could do it if there's no mortgage company or loan company involved.
Okay. Well, I have to look that up. But here's my point. One of the most common things that buyers will do at their own risk, and it's a huge risk, they'll go out and they'll try to buy a house without a buyer's agent. This isn't a promo. I'm just telling you what happens. They'll go out and try to negotiate a deal without a buyer's agent and try to get the listing agent to whack away that 3% so that they can get a benefit, meaning the buyer. And it never, ever works. I mean, a buyer agent alone should be able to negotiate way more than 3%, way more if it's in that kind of a situation. So if you're going out there, you can try it, but just don't commit to anything because it's not going to, I've never seen it work, so there's that.
Agreed.
Next one. The next time when Rodney or myself talks about vendors, and what we're talking about is everybody from soup to nuts. We're talking about home inspectors. We're talking about siding guys. We're talking about construction, all of it. When we give a recommendation, just make sure that you know that you have any number of people to choose from. A recommendation may be your benefit because we may know somebody that's really good at fixing that stucco siding that nobody else can, and somebody else will rip you off. We know people like that. But the whole point is, when you're looking at vendors, compare, just compare notes. And with agents, for goodness sakes, interview those people. We're talking about right up front, talking about being able to fire them. That'll thin the herd pretty quick. You'll find a lot of people will perhaps leave. So just when you're looking at anybody to use, be your own best advocate. Take the advice up for what it's worth. It may be the best thing to do, but see for yourself. Anything to add to that?
No, I'm all for open market shopping. Of course, if I refer somebody, I feel like my reputation's on the line. I feel like they'll do a good job, but it doesn't mean that they always have the best product or service that the client's looking for. I'm one person. I have a limited amount of knowledge. So yeah, just you're always going to need to do your shopping and fact checking on people, no matter who it is.
Angie's trying to be funny. The answer is, I can't answer that because there's no, what's that? The Sherman Act. All negotiations are, all commissions are negotiable. That's the bottom line. Yeah, you're funny girl, real funny. Put me on the spot, make me pull out. I'm sweating now. Golly, I'll be a knock at my door in about a half an hour with the something. So the last thing we have here, you're so funny, is stay away from arbitration. I didn't know much what to do about this, except if you come to a point, I've never been in a lawsuit where a house got so bad that we had to go to court. But they're saying, if you do have to go to court as opposed to arbitration. Now, this guy's an attorney, so I'm going to bank that he knows what he's talking about on this particular item. Did you read this part, Rodney?
Yes. I will say, other than at the bottom of his article, I think it said that basically when you go to arbitration and you're a consumer and it's over the real estate thing, the realtors are choosing the arbiter or whatever.
Right.
So, yeah, no, that's not that's not a good scenario for. It's not going to be fair.
Uh-uh.
You know,
You wouldn't be able to litigate it like you properly should with
well,
as painful as it is.
you're going against all insiders would be what I would think. If the realtor gets like, if I get to choose my judge, for you know what I'm saying, it'd be like
Yeah.
I get to choose who's going to prosecute you or whatever.
Your
Like,
golfing buddy.
yeah, me and my golfing buddy are going to go against you, and on your complaint.
So those are the 6 flags. So just be careful about that when you're out buying a house. I just thought it was kind of fun to go through what I thought it was fun is you have an attorney there giving advice that perhaps he should stay in his lane as well as I should. That's simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, I think he is correct, but there's just, for me, I'm a loan guy. So anytime I think about a customer, it's, I have every rule under the sun that I'm wanting to abide by, RESPA and equal housing opportunity and all that. He can negotiate whatever he wants if there's none of that involved.
Right.
If I find something from you, I can say, throw in that sign back there, it don't matter.
Yeah, good. Well, that was fun, Rodney. I'm about done for the day. Angie, you are the best. Wendy, Phil, I tell you what, I depend on you guys with the Googling. That was good. That really helped.
Yeah.
You guys are great. Have fun. All right, and Phil doesn't want to miss out on a negotiation. He is a beast with that. Or that was Wendy saying that, I think. Yep. She's a beast on that. She can negotiate her way around. God bless you guys. Thanks a lot. Rodney, any last thoughts?
I enjoyed it. Good to see everybody. Good to talk to everybody. And we'll catch you next week.
See you next week. Thanks, Rodney. Bye now.